Hi guys, does it happen to you that you think that you worked hard enough all day and you have earned your space in front of the TV with a cup of tea when your missus comes and says, I would like a very spicy curry. Happens all the time in every household, I guess. Happened to me today, so that's how I'm back here behind the stoves. And I thought, what should I cook? But Mrs. K gave an idea, make me a very spicy aloo matar curry. So here it is. Let's get cooking. Right, so we got the pan here and we start with sunflower oil. You can use rapeseed oil, vegetable oil, whichever ones you prefer. Okay, we use sunflower oil a lot at home. We prefer that. Personal choice, I guess. So just a thin layer of oil down there. So I would say about 2 tablespoons of oil to be fair. Now, once the oil comes to quite a good heat so that it can just make the spices splutter in it. So before that, I'll tell you what I'm adding is about a half a teaspoon of cumin seeds and half a teaspoon of onion seeds. Okay, and that goes in. Stir that. The heat is on medium high and the spices immediately start crackling, releasing the flavor in the oil, and that's what you want. A waft of aroma, flavor just comes out of this pan and hits your nostrils, and that's when you know it's actually getting cooked. And sometimes the check by the sight is when the spices are turning light brown in color, not the black ones but the cumin seeds. They'll just turn a little brown. You don't want them to get burnt, so you have to keep a good eye on it. Don't let it get burnt. Move them around the pan so the heat is uniformly rotated in the pan. The induction pan does a great job, no doubt about it. Now the next thing in is, because it's going to be really spicy curry my wife wants, so the chilies go in first. Those are all green chilies, and if you're brave, you can add the red chilies, okay? And the ginger. I've kept the garlic, which I'm going to add a little bit later. So what happens here, ginger and chili flavor, it's a match made in heaven. It works incredibly well, especially with any veggie curry you're making. Try making cauliflower and potato with this. Try making courgette. Try making pumpkin. Same spice mix, but saute your ginger and chili first with this. It comes out really, really well. Okay? Now, you don't want to color any of it. Just the release of the flavor you want from the chili and the ginger. And then I'm going to reach out for my garlic, sliced garlic. And let the garlic get sauteed in here as well. So mind you, onions are not going, mind you, I'm going to use onions, but I'm using them a bit later. So I first added onion seeds and cumin seeds, followed by ginger and chili. So that's a massive release of flavor there. So that ginger and the chili flavor will linger on throughout the curry because that's the main flavor builder here. Hence the garlic went later because I want garlic in more of a support role rather than the lead role. I sound like a TV producer now, or the movie producer. But these are the flavors I intend them to work the way I would like them to work, and don't want them to dictate me what to do. I want to dictate them what I want them to do in my pan. Okay, so garlic is nicely sauteed, sweated. Don't want them to get colored. I intend to keep them the way they are. Cease their cooking by adding chopped onions in there. Okay. Now onions are taking up the heat from the pan and the oil. Add a pinch of salt. So it's about 1/4 teaspoon in this case. That's quite a big pinch, I would say, but it's 1/4 teaspoon, and I'll remember this when I'm correcting the salt towards the end of my cooking. So what it does, it helps to draw the moisture out really quickly and in good time, I would say, helping onions to color. By the way, guys, these are the onions I can take a little bit of credit that I grew them in my patch, even if I didn't kind of planted them and sowed the seeds and all that. My gardener did that, but I harvested them, so I'm very proud of it. And they are really pungent. They are good British brown onions. They are packed with flavors. They are dense. They are strong. So when you hold an onion and you kind of press it, and the more resistance you have to apply in trying to kind of understand the character of the onion, the better it is, because the onion is dense and it's packed with layers. There's very little air in between the layers, and it's pungent as well. And that's what you want, especially for Indian cooking. Here in the UK, I love to use British brown onions. They work the best for my food. Right, so this has been cooking for approximately 10 minutes now, and you can see the onions have reached almost the second stage. So from translucent, which is the first stage, is going towards the light brown. I can cook it beyond if I want to, but don't need to, because it will make the curry very dark, and I intend this to be reddish yellow. Okay, so the main hero of my dish is potatoes. Okay, so these potatoes are not from my garden. I do have potatoes in my garden as well, but I haven't harvested them yet. Mrs. K loves potatoes with the skin on, so we have given it a good scrub. They're quite clean, and the skin also holds a lot of flavor, so it's quite good to have them. Mix them around a bit so they get climatized to the pan. Pan management, as my friend Nick Narren says. You've got to learn the pan management. You've got to manage the pan. If you leave the heat going in the bottom of the pan for too long without stirring the ingredients, it will catch the bottom and burn your ingredients. This way, you have moved the ingredients around the pan, dissipated the heat, and heat is uniformly distributed, and the new set of energy starts coming into the pan. Too much science there. Forget it. Let's get on to the next ingredient. Right. Proper masala dabba. Coriander powder. You can't have any dish in my kitchen, at least in my house, without this powder, right? So this is 2.5 teaspoons. About a teaspoon of turmeric powder, and about half a teaspoon of red chili powder. I'll add another 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, this is what I studied in college. Okay. Now this is what I learned at my IHM Chennai school, and also later in Oberoi school, that if you add an acid to the starch molecules take a lot longer to cook. And that's just not the theory, it's quite correct and practical, okay? So sometimes when we add lemon juice, tomato, or tamarind or vinegar to our starch way too early, it takes very long to cook, okay? So this is just a technical knowledge. So what I'm going to do next is, I am going to add a little bit of tomatoes. So that is going to prolong the cooking of this particular dish. But I'm doing that intentionally. I'm adding tomatoes and then maybe a little bit of passata and cook that through, then add some water and let it cook gently. So instead of getting it cooked in next 10-15 minutes, it might take 25 to 30 minutes for me to get these potatoes cooked. But I'm willing to sacrifice that because I want the potatoes to have a little bit of flavor of tomatoes right by sauteing, because there's a little bit of caramelization of tomatoes and the tomato paste will go on in the pan, and that lends to the flavor, the final flavor of the dish. So you have to make adjustments, you have to make sacrifices to get an excellent dish at the end. It's time versus science. So that's what I'm going to do, guys. So let's go in the pan again and I'll show you what all I'm adding. So before I add tomatoes, there's another thought in my mind that I recently joined hands with a charity called Go Dharma. Sounds very religious, but the only religion involved in this is humanity. Now, they have been working in India, I think Sri Lanka and other countries, but also here in the UK. Now, they provide ration to people who are struggling because of COVID-19, struggling because of their tough times. And they want to make sure that humanly we look after them as much as possible by providing them the right ration. So obviously it's a charity and the money is always scarce, unfortunately, in charitable work. So my idea is to provide those people with some fantastic simple recipes and also get them to have nutritious food. So this kind of dish which I'm cooking, it's potato and I'm putting peas, but you can use chickpeas, black gram or black chickpeas. You can add any other vegetable with potatoes and make it massively nutritious. The only other starch you would need, potatoes are starch, no doubt about it, but in Indian cookery we look at it as a vegetable. So you could either have it with roti, plain bread, or plain boiled rice. Okay, so let's go back to the pan and add the tomatoes. So before I add tomatoes, there's another thought in my mind that I recently joined hands with a charity called Go Dharma. Sounds very religious, but the only religion involved in this is humanity. Now, they have been working in India, I think Sri Lanka and other countries, but also here in the UK. Now, they provide ration to people who are struggling because of COVID-19, struggling because of their tough times. And they want to make sure that humanly we look after them as much as possible by providing them the right ration. So obviously it's a charity and the money is always scarce, unfortunately, in charitable work. So my idea is to provide those people with some fantastic simple recipes and also get them to have nutritious food. So this kind of dish which I'm cooking, it's potato and I'm putting peas, but you can use chickpeas, black gram or black chickpeas. You can add any other vegetable with potatoes and make it massively nutritious. The only other starch you would need, potatoes are starch, no doubt about it, but in Indian cookery we look at it as a vegetable. So you could either have it with roti, plain bread, or plain boiled rice. Okay, so let's go back to the pan and add the tomatoes. Okay, so now back here in the pan. So this is a really cheap and cheerful tomato passata. We bought it from Tesco. About 2.5-3 tablespoons of that. You can use tin tomatoes, canned tomatoes, okay? So now because of the turmeric, the tomato color is kind of lost. Turmeric is quite a strong and powerful ingredient in Indian cookery. So I have answer to that as well. So I'm gonna keep tomato paste handy for this and about 1/2 tablespoon of tomato paste. Okay. Now I want this to be spicy, tangy, of course delicious, no doubt about it, but flavorsome. So my flavor builders were onion, seeds, cumin, followed by ginger and chili. Then I added garlic. Then I added powdered spices. I know I'm making it very complicated. Actually, it's not. These are real simple, straightforward ingredients. Now, this is where I would like to add a little bit of twist to it. Well, I've already added tomatoes, because tomatoes are obviously going to take some space and not allow potatoes to cook very quickly. So I'm adding another tangy ingredient. It's a chili, mango pickle, sorry, and then I'll also add the chili pickle too. So I'll get a nice teaspoonful of mango pickle paste. Okay, you can take out, this is right from the box which we bought. You don't have to do this, you can add a little bit of lemon if you wish to. But I fancy this, so I'm gonna do it. And this is the chili one. Another proprietary mix. You can use anything you want really, guys. This is chili and lime pickle. So this is the red chili, which I absolutely adore. I grew up eating this chili in India. And a little bit of masala as well on there. Mix that well. This will be a major flavor builder, trust me. Oh, I wish I could share the smell. I could tell you the kind of flavor I'm getting out of this pan. Aroma, it's just amazing. Okay, so now I'll add the water. About 500 ml of water I've added. There's no hard and fast rule. You want enough water to cover the potatoes. Okay, full heat. Let the tomatoes mix well with the water. All the spices gel in, and let the potatoes cook gently, and also leach out some of their starch into the sauce, making the sauce slightly thicker. With the tomato paste and the tomato passata, it's already fairly good consistency, but with the starch coming out of potato, it will be of absolutely right consistency. Now from here, it'll take good 12 to 15 minutes. Right, so it's taken almost 20 to 22 minutes, okay, to get the potatoes cooked properly. And I also added, I think, another 150 ml of water to it. So that is personal liking. If you like to keep it thicker, then less water is okay. And if you want to have a little thinner gravy, then add more water. And I just want to check that it's cooked, and if the potato, yeah, the knife goes in very easily, perfectly cooked. Frozen peas to recipe. I grew up in India, and there was a joke, there was an ad on the TV that says peas and lots of peas, matar, dher sare matar. So that's what it is. That goes in. Mix it together. This is looking amazing. Bring it to a boil. Simmer for 2 minutes. And finish with adding a little bit more spices. Not that many, but just a little bit. So my favorite spices to finish this is kasuri methi, which is fenugreek leaf powder. About half a teaspoon. Okay? That goes on top. The reason I'm just spreading it like that, so it'll be easier to mix it. And about half a teaspoon of standard garam masala. Of course, Mrs. K makes her own. So that's a standard here in Atul Kotchhar. But you guys can just buy